What's up, YouTube? As you guys can see, I've got this thing coming together here. Have had no problems whatsoever with the chain drive at this point. These things are just freaking awesome. These keepers are just amazing how they work. And I see the light. I see the light when it comes to putting keepers on. And I love that. So you guys unfamiliar with these things, all they're basically doing is drawing this hub backwards. And the same thing, I've got another one on that, drawing that backwards. Now what that means is that I can really fine-tune forward and backwards with both of these. So the axle can move forwards and backwards exactly as I want. Not to mention I can camber it just perfectly. And I think that's what was causing the chain issue, because I've had no jump chains so far. I'm very happy about that. So transmission appears to be solid. My old saying is, it works till she breaks. Speaking of brakes, the whatchamacallit, the throttle control, this was not me, this is somebody else, twisted that guy just a little too much. That goes back to what I was saying about not really being crazy about this throttle control, it being just too unresponsive. I think I need to design some kind of a stop in here or something like this, because it doesn't know when to stop. It stops like when the throttle is wide open. On the road it's great, but I don't want anybody sitting down on the bike and being like, vroom, vroom, snap, you know, whatever. This guy's working okay. The only thing is I kind of want to switch. You know, I kind of want like an off switch, because I end up holding down the button and then it sounds like the engine dies, and then I let go and then she fires up again. Not the end of the world by any means. Brake system. Yes, super happy about the brakes. Shout out to my man D&B for hooking up with these brake calipers here. These things are freaking awesome. This is off a motorcycle or a go-kart or something here. My only folly in this is that I don't have enough cable, really. It's running super tight to the right handlebar there. Not a big problem, but these things are great. As you can see, it's scored up the side of the gear, which is expected and understandable and acceptable 100%. And I've kept it far away from the teeth. You notice the paint is still okay near the teeth, and that's all I care about. Because when this guy wears out, I'll just replace it. It'll be a heck to re-weld. But hey, whatever, you know what, it'll be worth it. I might even just get another hub to start over with, but the brakes should be wearing out long before, long before the gear actually wears out, so the timing on that one works out okay. Yeah, happy with the transmission. As far as the brake system, you guys see my ugly welds here. I just welded a piece of support steel, and then I got one bolt going through right there to hold that guy in place. It just beautifully rests. I don't know if you guys can see just how well that just kind of just plugs in like it's freaking Legos or something. It's awesome. Yeah, as far as brakes go, what I got is a mountain bike braking setup. Now this was the disc itself that got unbolted and re-welded to the hub. It's such a pain to do that. The welds haven't been cleaned up yet. Please forgive how ugly this looks. But that disc got welded directly to the hub here, 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this was the actual mechanism off of the mountain bike parts. Once again, D&B hooked that one up, and take a look. Shazam, and she locks up nice. Let's see if we can give it a test. Nice and quiet, just a little bit of a hiss there, and then stops on a dime. Now obviously this setup was not designed for something this heavy, but for the time being it's working pretty good. And I just got a couple of welds, a couple little homemade brackets, everything's got to get cleaned up. Debating painting this thing at this point. The old brakes are gone, but you know, it's almost like a rule of thumb on a motorcycle that you need 2 brake systems, because one of them's going to go. That rear one's powerful, this guy's okay, but I obviously need some kind of setup. And this guy's really kind of fun to mess around with, because you can actually adjust the camber with these things. You can actually tilt this in and out just by messing with these. So it's a great little system. Once again, couldn't be happier. Thanks, bro, for hooking that one up. And it just welded up. I was really having such a frustrating time getting this thing going. Once again, please don't look at all these welds. They haven't been cleaned up yet. But I was having such a frustrating time mounting that. What I ended up doing is putting on that extra washer. Now these forks actually have a lot of spring to them, and they're almost canted inside where they're pointed at one another. Adding another washer just spread it out just enough so it would clear, so this guy would clear the spokes. But as you guys can see here, I actually shaved a lot of metal. See that fresh aluminum right there? I actually shaved a lot of metal off that just so it would fit, so I get a good clearance. But I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. The only thing I'm going to do is come back on the other side right here and do some more welding. But as I install brake systems on stuff, what I do is I try to shield everything with, please don't do this at home, but with like a wet rag or something like that. And then I, weld and then test and make sure everything's working so far. One of the tricks to doing a setup like this is setting it up where you install one bracket and then tweaking the angles and the setup right, and then installing another bracket and not welding it, and then rolling that into where you want to weld it, and then just 2 tacks, testing it out, and if everything's good, then just a big bead across. I'm so embarrassed at how ugly those welds are right now, but the bike is looking great. I mean, super happy with that. Tank is a little bit cheesy. It's leaking a little bit, just a tiny bit, like almost enough to be acceptable even without even trying to fix it. But I'm not going to be smoking any cigarettes on top of this thing anytime soon, that's for sure. Kill switch is working great. Oh, this is where I'm stupid. Alright, we got the brake handle. You notice that is not a handlebar, that's a 5/8. The reason it's like this is because it wasn't long enough to reach up to the handlebar there, so I'm dumb, whatever. But the beauty of it is that the system's in line. All I need to do is just run another piece of cable through there, and I will have my left-hand brake system. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but because I'm right-handed, I want the more powerful brakes on the right side next to the throttle, and the weaker brakes for the front right here on the left side. So if anybody wants to chime in on that one, I guess that's just how it's done. Other than that, everything's working good. The engine hasn't given me any crap for a while, except for that air filter falling off during some test runs. And that I think I just need to put a nylock washer on the top there. Still haven't pulled apart that carburetor. At the moment, I'm really not seeing any need to. I still don't have any running pegs, and of course the pedals are going to be the last thing on. I'm kind of regret painting this thing, but at the same time, I just needed that motivation. I lose motivation on projects really quick. Like last night at 4 a.m., I was just dying with this thing, and I was just so mad. I was just cussing and throwing my tools and just throwing a tantrum. And that's not the way to go. So whenever I hit that moment, I either move on to work on something else, like I start working on the rear brake system, or I just have a soda and just watch cartoons or something. I'm not even joking about the cartoons part, just something to kind of mellow me out. But I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. It needs to get some more welds on the other side just to make sure it's super welded. I'm thinking about even doing something like a brake system. I mean, a foot brake system, like mounting this down here and then having to step on it or something. I don't know. Anyway, maybe somebody can tell me about that one, like I'd have something like a pedal or whatever. Just thinking out loud. Like go-kart style. But she's coming together. I'm getting some very, very minimal contact. You guys can't even see the assembly moving, but then she stops on a dime, and I'm so happy about that, Project's really coming together. As far as next stuff to do here, of course I've got some aesthetic things, like those keepers need to get painted over a little bit. This needs to be welded up a little bit more. The rear braking system needs to be reinforced a little bit. But it's really reliable at this point. Oh yeah, longer cable, obviously, but it's really reliable at this point. I'm almost comfortable enough taking this down to 7-Eleven and just getting a soda pop and or Slurpee and driving on back. Obviously, it's hilarious. Like the last thing I've gotten for this thing is a helmet. Still gotta get a helmet. The license plate's ready to go. The license plate was like shaking to the point where it was like falling off, so that's been removed during test phase. And that's about all for now.